Welcome to Easy Email Marketing. I'm your host, Yael Keown, mum, FIFO wife, MBA, coffee lover, survivor superfan, and creator of the email experience. In Easy Email Marketing, you'll benefit from my nearly 20 years experience, where I'll be teaching you all the tips, tricks, and insider info on how to create feel-good, non-spammy experiences for your subscribers. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Easy Email Marketing. I'm your host, Yael Keown, and today is a good old-fashioned tips roundup episode. This time, I'm focusing on creating your automations and speeding up that whole process, simplifying it for now and in the future. So in past episodes, I've explained how automation works, and I've given my top automations for e-commerce, services, and digital creative businesses. So I'll make sure to link those here in the corresponding show notes. But the process of planning and creating automations can still be incredibly daunting. Through those episodes, I've talked about the what you want to create, but sometimes it just seems like there is so much. So today I want to really break it down for you and make it much easier. Or you might have found that you have started with the best of intentions and you've created some great automations, but as your business has grown and you have added more and more automations, it's become overwhelming and you aren't exactly sure who is getting what anymore. So this is a great episode to listen to as well, to learn some hacks on how to simplify all of how that works, and provides this great opportunity for you to reflect. So I'm sharing my favorite tips to help you speed up the creation of your automations and also make the process easier today and in the future when you are going around wondering who is getting what emails. So a bit of a disclaimer, not all the features that I talk about are available with all email marketing software. Or some might do something similar, but not in the same way, or they don't use the same terminology. So I'll try to flag these as I go, but I might not catch everything. And obviously I can't talk about every single piece of software out there, but at least this will give you a pointer in the right direction. It'll give you some of the idea of some of the things you might be looking for in your software if you think any of these things will make your life simpler. So without further ado, here's my 10 favorite automation creation tips. The first one is to map it out on paper or in a spreadsheet. I am a spreadsheet girl first. So identify how each automation is triggered. So that's the first thing. You want to know, okay, how does my email marketing software know to start this automation? And it could be that a different automation finished, or it could be that they clicked on a link or they filled out a form, but identify whatever the trigger is. Then identify what emails you want to include, if this is an automation that includes emails. We'll get to that in a moment. Identify if you want any emails to only go to specific groups. Like, do you have any if-else scenarios? So if they are a customer, they get this version. Or if they are not a customer, they get this version, or they skip. So we want to be able to think about what emails might be missed. We also want to make sure we are clear on what the call to action will be. Now, with the majority of automations, I like to really focus around one call to action. I see so much people making these super duper automations that have like 100 million different steps. That is very overwhelming. Instead, I like to really hone in and go, okay, what's the purpose of this automation or this flow? Some of them might only have one email in them. Some might just have like a full series. But the goal will always be the same. Like, I want you to think about it as a big picture, as all working together. What is the call to action? And then finally, where you want the subscriber to go next. So do they go into another automation, or do they just go on your main list? Do they get added to a certain category? Where do you want them to go next? So just map that out first. I like to do that probably at least once a year. I just really look at my subscriber experiences and identify, okay, what do I want to happen? And if you've already got automations in place, this is your chance to check in on those as well and see if they are still working for you. So that's number one. Number two is to separate routing automations from email delivery. So what I mean by a routing automation is if you are getting subscriber data from somewhere and you want to put them in and get them to get different emails depending on their answers to questions or details you know about them, I would use a routing automation first and then have each separate email delivery sequence separate from that. So sometimes, as I mentioned, we do too much and end up with like 10 different branches in one automation. And this is okay if it's just for routing, but if you're starting to send emails in there, it can get really, really overwhelming. So separate those out. So I love to have a routing automation which moves subscribers to the correct lists, the fields, the tags, and then the email delivery automation. So a good example here, because you might be finding this a little bit confusing, is for Calendly appointments or any appointment booking software, whether it comes from Zapier or somewhere else. Maybe you have multiple different appointment types, but you've only got one integration to Calendly or your booking software. I would have a master routing automation for Calendly. So as soon as someone books an appointment, I ask a question. Was the appointment type discovery call? If yes, we want to update a couple of fields with their dates. We want to categorize them as a lead, whatever it is you want to do with them. If no, we might ask the next question. Is the booking a strategy call? If yes, then we could go, okay, they're no longer a lead, so we want to move them from leads to paying customers. We might want to add in dates of calls so we can do our follow-ups. We might even want to trigger off I'm excited to work with you email, but not in this. And I'll get to that in a moment. But we want to just put all the scenarios into one like master routing automation instead of having all your emails mixed in. Now you might be wondering, well, can't I just have one automation for if the Calendly appointment type is discovery call and a separate one for if it is a strategy call or if it's a package, whatever it is? Yes, you could do that, but then all of a sudden they're all in different places and they're linked in different ways. This is also a fantastic hack if you want to limit the amount of zaps you're using. So if you're a Zapier user, instead of having like 5 different zaps for the different appointment types you have, you can have one zap and just make sure you've got an appointment date field and just have it all in the one place in the one master routing automation. So if you know that something's going on with, okay, you're not sure if people are going to the right place and you need to figure out where the problem's happening, you can do that by putting them into this routing automation. Another great tip around this type of automation is to put wait times in here. So if after someone's gone through all the updates, add a wait time of 30 days or something, and then the contact will just sit there. So again, you can identify quickly if there are any problems. You can go, oh, and who else would have done this problem? I can see all these people in the 30 days that are there. Okay. And that leads me to tip number 3, which is what happens with these routing automations if you did want to send emails, and that is to connect them using trigger tags. Now, if you're not familiar with the term tags, these are like little labels that you put on your subscribers to classify them. MailerLite uses groups. So if you're a MailerLite user, think about me talking about groups. And often we can trigger automations based on adding tags. So instead of at the end of one automation having a step that says start another automation, at the end say trigger : and then the name of the automation that you want to trigger. This does a couple of things. Firstly, it helps you really identify when you're looking at one automation how it's adding, where someone is going next. 2, it means that if you have multiple automations triggering off the same one, you can easily connect them all up, and you don't have to worry about, where do I have to update this? If I change the automation, I don't need to go back and think about, what are all the other automations that I had connected to this one? Using the trigger tag keeps it simple. Then it also means that we can see which subscribers are currently in that automation. Yes, you can create segments, and yes, you can review that, but sometimes I find it easier with a tag. So when you build out your emails then, so you start another automation, which is started by this trigger tag. At the end of it, you can remove that tag so you know who is currently in it, and if needed, you can have someone go through the same experience again. For example, for lead magnet deliveries or for appointment confirmation type ones, someone might want to go through that more than once. If it's something that you only want someone to go through more than once, having a trigger tag is also fantastic. And that is because it means that we can make sure that no matter if they get added from multiple places, they'll still only go through that series of emails once. Which brings me to step number 4, which is to separate out your lead magnet delivery or any single way people sign up from your welcome sequences, from your welcome automations. So I see a lot of people making the mistake of saying their sign up, so their initial thanks for signing up to my list, here's your lead magnet, and then going straight into email 2 with the introduction, and then 3, 4, 5, and it's all in one automation. That's all well and good if you've only got one way people can sign up to your list. But if you've got people signing up by 2 different lead magnets, from a webinar, from a general newsletter sign-up form, from someone purchasing, subscribing at checkout, and you've got them added all these ways, if the welcome's tied together, if you got the welcome attached to all the lead magnet deliveries, that means every time they sign up to all the different things, they'll get the full welcome. And we don't want that. So what we want to do is for each way that people sign up, have a separate lead magnet delivery. And then when they, at the end of each one, so it's just got the one email, you say trigger welcome series. So there's our trigger tag. And that puts them into the welcome, and they will only get that once no matter where they have signed up from. So there's tip number 4. Ooh, I feel like I'm talking a bit more about these tips and going deeper than I expected, but they're all just so good. Tip number 5 is to use a naming convention for everything. So I see people naming automations and emails and sign-up forms, totally random things that might make sense at the time, but they make it really difficult to manage in future. So the trigger tag is an example of this, where I say trigger, and what the automation is. But I would love you to use this for everything. So if you have multiple lead magnets, have it lead magnet, the name of the lead magnet. And then that convention, that format will be used for the sign-up form, for the automation, for the list if it's associated with the list, for the tag. So everything is named the same, so you know exactly what connects to what. So I like to use the format of the action or what it's connected to. So this could be trigger, it could be zap, it could be source, welcome, purchased, so webinar. So whatever it is, and then the name, so some sort of noun, some sort of context. And then if you need extra context like a date, you could put like a little dash and put the date or put the category, etc. And by having this naming convention, you know exactly who is going through what experience. Tip number 6 is the final one for the actual automation flows. And I'll get into some email content creation stuff in a moment. But the final tip is to gauge engagement and interest at the end of key automations. So you've put in all this hard work, right, of building this automation with a ton of emails, you've got great calls to action, and at the end you're going, what's next? Now you've got the choice. You can just add everyone into your general newsletter and hope for the best. Or you can take this as an opportunity to identify who your hottest leads are and who might be worth following up on or putting them into different sequences. So you could have lots of options here. You could have a step which says, okay, did they click more than 5 times throughout this whole series? If yes, put them into a sales sequence before a newsletter. I know some people worry about annoying people with sales emails. Well, maybe send an engagement series. And if you see the people who are most engaged, only put those ones into a more targeted sales email sequence. Yes, still mention it to the others, but really focus in on these. You could have it if they clicked on a particular topic link. You could add a tag around the category or about what sort of thing they are interested in. This is a great market research opportunity. You could say, did they click the sales link in the email but didn't buy? If yes, you could send a follow-up email automatically, or you could send a notification email to yourself and you go, oh, I'm going to outreach to this person. And on the flip side of all of this, you could say, if they did not open any emails, well, we can tell something's wrong, and maybe this is an opportunity just to clean them out, unsubscribe them before they go any further on your list and clog up your systems and cause deliverability issues. So there are 6 automation structure tips. I'll recap those and then I'll get into the email design ones. So first, map it out on paper or a spreadsheet first with how it's triggered and what emails you want to include and what will happen next. 2, separate your routing automations from email delivery. 3, connect your automations using trigger tags instead of just like starting other automations or other random triggers. 4, separate your lead magnet delivery or your sign up confirmation emails from your standard welcome. 5, use a naming convention for everything and the same name for everything, like your sign up forms, your automations, your lists, etc. And 6, gauge interest and engagement at the end of key automations and decide on actions from there. Okay, so let's go into 4 more like design-based ones, because let's be honest, some of the overwhelm that comes with your email automation creation process is the number of emails that you need to create. So my first tip is to repurpose your emails, or, just leverage what work you're doing already for somewhere else so you get more bang for your buck. So a classic example of this is if you're writing your welcome series, why not send that out to your email list that's currently there first? So just write 1 email a week and send it out to your normal list and then add it to that automation. Or if you just love creating it as a batch sequence, do that, but then add all your existing subscribers to that sequence, but maybe it's just spaced out a little bit more. And all of a sudden, your emails are handled for the next period of time. Make sure to repurpose. And anytime you are writing an email to your list, think about, would this make a great email for my new subscribers? Can I put this in place elsewhere? You could also go, can I make a social media post out of this? What can we do to get more bang for your time buck here? Repurpose. Sometimes all it takes is a little tweak of the introduction or the call to action and you are done. Tip number 8 is to leverage AI, and in particular, ChatGPT. Now, one of the big trends we're definitely seeing with email marketing software is they are adding AI features all throughout. So far, I'm not finding them very exciting, especially when it comes to the copywriting side. I find them very generic, very bland, and you can't do so much with them. You can't do a lot of that back and forth chat. So I love to use ChatGPT to help me polish up some emails and to help, with client emails and different things like that, because it can just help streamline that writing process. Now, I've done a whole episode 77, on how to leverage ChatGPT for your email marketing. And in that, I have been very clear, I don't recommend letting it write your emails completely for you. But the caveat to this, for specific automation emails, it can really, really help. So for example, if I asked it to write an email on a email marketing topic and to give my top 5 tips for something, and even if I gave it the tips, it would come out sounding very professional. It just sounds very bland, not very exciting. And it kind of thinks about it more in the way of a more like one-to-one email versus another thing. And I'm sure there's ways you can work around it, but I just find in that scenario, it doesn't quite get the context. But it does understand the context of, say, an abandoned cart email. So you can say, please can you write an email that I will send automatically when a customer abandons their cart, and I want to encourage them to come back to buy. That's pretty much where your email marketing software will leave it. They'll just put some words in. But where we make it bring it to life. We say, my business is blank. So whatever it is you do, I sell this. And then you can ask it to come up with puns or plays on words with what your business does, but associated with the context of abandoning a cart. Or you can also ask it to use particular tones of voice. You may say professional, or we want to have a really casual, friendly approach. We want to make sure we say, follow up on this. And we're not relying on this to write the full email for you, but what it can do is write a couple of really fun lines that just add that personality. And then you can just add in those extra details of, oh yeah, if you need extra help, contact me here. Similarly, you can ask it to create some fun subject lines that help you stand out. Instead of just saying, don't leave your cart behind, can you come up with different ways? So definitely leverage ChatGPT to speed up the writing process. Just don't take an exact copy and paste. Still, use your brain, but it makes the process much quicker. You don't get that writer's block. It really starts that process flowing. Tip number 9 is to use saved or universal content blocks. So most software has email templates, and I'm sure you have worked with those before. You've created a very base branded email template. But some software enables you to use saved or universal content blocks. So that means within an email like template, you can save different sections of it. So you could have a footer section, or you can have 3 versions of a footer section in different colors, in different fonts. You could have different headers for different types of emails. You could have different types of text content blocks, different types of buttons, different types of calls to action. And you can have those as saved blocks. So instead of when you're building out a new email, yes, you can start with a template, but then you can drag in your saved blocks instead of just a general, let's bring in a text box and I have to type everything again. Or I want to share this product, but I have to drag in a general one and type all the words instead of saying this is something that I use all of the time. Now, there is some software that does not have the capability to save content blocks separately. In this scenario, I recommend just having a master template that has all of the blocks in it, and then you just go in and you delete all the sections you don't need, and then you've just got the ones that you want. I find that quicker than creating. Now, one variation, and one that not all software has, but say like Klaviyo does, which I absolutely love, are universal content blocks. So the difference between a saved content block and a universal content block is a universal one will update across everything when you update it once. So a saved block, you drag it into the email, you edit it, and it is just what it is. And then if you update the saved block, it doesn't update all the emails that already have it included. But if you have a universal content block, say you want to change some of your wording in a disclaimer, or you have a different promotion on that month, if you just update the universal block, it will update every single automated email that has that in it. That's one of my favorite features of Klaviyo, and it is amazing because it saves you all that hassle of thinking, oh, where have I used those words? Which emails do I need to update? So that makes it easier. And then finally, tip number 10 is to use conditional and or dynamic content. So we have sometimes scenarios where we might want to send a pretty similar email to 2 different groups of subscribers, but we might want to include something or not include something. So a classic example of this is maybe you want to send out just a helpful email, but then you want to have a sales call to action in it as well for anyone who hasn't purchased yet. But if someone has purchased, you kind of don't want to add that in. So if you created this as conditional content, you can create a whole block just within the one email that says if they are only show this section if they have never purchased. So you can do it around tags, you can do it around fields, you can do it around different conditions. So it's one email, but 2 people could get 2 different versions of it. So a customer will get one version and a non-customer will get a different version of that same email. So that saves you having to create a split and create 2 whole different emails. A slight variation on this is dynamic content, and this is using basically your personalization code, like your little merge tags. So you could have Include someone's name, include someone's like their category. If they've filled out a field, and you can put in like you're an e-commerce business or your software and put that in there, you can actually create much more interest within the emails. And you can go deeper in things like product feeds, etc. So recommending specific products based around what they have looked at or what categories they fit into. The world is your oyster here, and this is a great way to build out, use just one email instead of 5 in certain scenarios. So let's wrap up those final tips around your email design, and that is overall tip number 7 was to repurpose your emails. So make sure to use them in more than one place. 8 was to leverage ChatGPT just to bring things to life, especially some of these classic automation emails that you just want to differentiate from everyone else's. 9, use saved or universal content blocks. So that goes well beyond just templates, but instead having individual blocks that you can just drag and drop and they are there for you. And number 10 is to use conditional and or dynamic content to avoid having to create multiple versions of emails. I know that's a lot. Hopefully there are some tips there that you have taken that are helpful for you. If you do want more tips and ideas on creating email automations, I have 2 great DIY courses for you to choose from. There's e-commerce automations and services automations, and both go into how automations work, how to build them, and then a fuller specific examples for your business. Plus, you'll also learn a heap more of my automation hacks, just like I have shared here. So you can find out more about those and a whole bunch of other courses at the Email Marketing Superstore at yaelkeown.com/shop. Or, of course, there is also the option to work with me one-on-one. If you're thinking, okay, Yael, this all sounds amazing, I just want you to do it for me, I'm absolutely more than happy to do that. You can head to my website, yaelkeown.com, and check out the Work With Me page and see the different options there. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would love to hear from you about what you've enjoyed from this episode or what you want to know more about next. Please let me know over on Instagram. I am at yaelkeown, or one word, and I'll see you in the next episode. Email marketing. It's an absolute honour that you chose to listen. If you love this episode, then it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review so that others can find this podcast and make their email marketing easy too. Finally, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. Until next time, have an awesome day and make sure to keep showing up and serving in those inboxes.